Good morning. Nice to see an enthusiastic audience this morning for our program on reimagining leadership, which will be led by my dear friend and expert human resource and leadership consultant, Jonathan Lowe. Jonathan is based in Kuala Lumpur, and he is doing this special program for tourism stakeholders from PATA India and India Tourism in itself. Just to introduce everybody to Jonathan, uh, Jonathan centers his conference keynote speaking and leadership coaching work with organizations and senior executives to measurably improve their leadership effectiveness, growth, development, and business performance, especially in the areas of sales performance, service quality, leadership, communication, and team development. He believes that increased self-awareness accelerates professional relations and business success. Very true. I think if we were to pick up all these attributes and what he tries to um, uh, deliver in his sessions, each one of these items are invaluable as far as we are concerned as either leaders in ourselves or aspiring leaders. A global speaking fellow, certified speaking professional, master certified coach, and one of Asia's leading sales, service, and leadership optimizers, and international author, Jonathan has successfully delivered his high energy, engaging, and transformational keynotes to audiences globally. From the many clients that he has addressed and helped in their businesses, he is described as inspiring, empowering, and thought provoking, yet caring. Jonathan continues to let leaders explore deeper levels of self awareness in a safe and trusting environment. This has helped his clients to experience greater intentional growth, inspiring them to new levels of discovery, productivity, and performance. Jonathan guides and coaches them through a plan that also involves invaluable inputs and insights from key stakeholders to achieve results for their organizations, teams, and clients themselves. He has more than 25 years of in-depth executive experience in leadership, sales management, customer experience, and business resilience, working with executives and their leadership teams throughout Asia, Europe, and North America. Over the years, Jonathan has earned numerous well-recognized professional talent development accreditations and certifications in the field of leadership, executive coaching, emotional intelligence, mental toughness, and trust building, resilience, and assessments by reputed international organizations. I think, when I read out Jonathan's resume to you, it clearly tells me that these are all that he's been doing or is currently doing uh, relate to the attributes that we require uh, and aspirants require as leaders. I was just reading something about leadership, which said that leadership is the ability of an individual or group of individuals to influence and guide teams. Leadership is usually connected, usually in our day-to-day working life, is usually connected to an individual's seniority. However, it is an attribute anyone can have, even in the absence of a leadership title. I would say even individual contributors can be leaders because they're interfacing with various people, with clients, with their customer constituency, etc. And they can pretty much lead the way with their associates and cross-functional colleagues in different organizations and establish credibility about their abilities to lead from the front. Um, it is a developable skill that can be improved over time. So leadership is not a constant. Leadership is like change. It's always evolving. It's always improving. And we're going to use Jonathan's hour and 15 minutes or so to learn how these things can be done. Leaders are credited with making good and sometimes difficult decisions. I think more difficult than good always. A good leader is one who is aware of the situation, adapts, responds, guides his team and guides his team to success. So situational leadership is an important feature. You cannot straitjacket leadership. It's not binary. It's not yes or no. You're in challenging circumstances, and you have to find a way out. You have to find a way to reach your goal successfully, and your knowledge, your skills, your persona, all of that into arriving at a solution which will take care of the situational problem. Self-confidence, good in communication, ability to manage and channelize resources, innovative thinking, and willingness to take risks, uh, and change management and timely reactiveness in crisis make for a good leader. So, I think all of us know all of this in some form or the other. We're aware, we're familiar with most of these things, but it's always good to, come back, revisit, uh, think whether we're on the right track, what little changes we can make to perform better, what little changes we can make to deliver desired results. So without much further ado, I think I've already taken about 7 minutes. I'm going to hand you over to Jonathan Lowe, who's waiting to talk to you and deliver to you what he thinks is reimagining your leadership for breakthrough success. In today's environment, it's the world has become smaller with communication, with a whole lot of stuff, and I'm really counting on Jonathan to kind of let the fresh air in and open the windows of our mind. Jonathan, all yours.
Thank you, Rooney. Good to be here. Hello, everyone from Pata India chapter. Right. So first of all, thank you to Rooney for extending the invitation to me. Can everyone just have your cameras on for a while? I always love to see a live audience, right? We're on a travel and tour. So if you can on your cameras a bit, wow, it really mean, wow, Sanjit, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Yeah. There you go, right? It's all about the human experience, the human touch. Although I'm not there in person in India, but I just love seeing your faces, right? So if you can keep your cameras on, that'd be great. Lovely. Yeah. Nothing beats seeing you virtually versus being in person. So thank you so much for just having your cameras on, if it is appropriate, if it is okay. So a happy morning to all of you. I am in Kuala Lumpur right now, and it is afternoon for me. So we obviously is 2.5 hours ahead of India, but really happy to have all of you joining in the call. So the session is going to be really about sharing my thoughts, and many of you are great leaders already, right? And I can see from the chat alone, I have dear friends from Delhi, from Mumbai, Pune, all across different parts of Hyderabad, many different parts of India. So really great. We even have a friend from Nepal. Who is from Nepal? Maybe you can put up your hand if you're from Kathmandu. I saw someone from Kathmandu. There you go. Welcome. All right. So we have two. Fantastic, BJ and also Anu. So thank you so much for joining in the call. Really great. So let's get started, and let me put on the slide so that we can all learn together, right? During the time that we have together. So let me share the screen. Get to the right thing. There we go. Okay. So all good, everyone able to see my deck of presentation? Give me a thumbs up if you're able to.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sanjit, for confirmation. Now, you're welcome to use the chat box. My team member is also here, Fanny. So she's going to be supporting me every now and then with some questions that I've asked. Now there'll be some interactive session where I would love to have your thoughts, your opinion. So please participate, right? It's going to be a Menti. So you'll be using QR code, and then when we come to that part, we'll get a chance to go through it. All right, so let's get started. So for those of you who are not connected with me on LinkedIn yet, here is an opportunity. You can just use your phone, mobile, QR code is there. This is a quick opportunity for you to connect with me. Because maybe after the session, you feel, hey, the session was a little bit short, 45 minutes, 1 hour. I would love to keep connected to Jonathan and maybe pop in a question or two. So you're welcome to do that. So I'd like you to extend. And Fanny will also put in my LinkedIn onto the chat box, right? So that it's easy. You can either have the QR code or you can just click onto the link and just instead of follow me, just add connect with John, right? So that we can get connected also as friends. So I've been in the industry for more than 18 years now, doing what I'm doing now as a conference speaker, as a coach, as a trainer. Thank you for the kind introduction. But maybe a little bit before that, prior to joining this industry of professional speaking, training, and also coaching, I was very much part of the heartbeat of hospitality and tourism. I spent close to 18 to 20 years in sales and marketing in different hotels with the Marriott International, with Park Royal International, with Hilton Group. So very much in sales and marketing and in revenue management. So at one stage of my career, I probably have dealt with many of the tour operators, wholesalers, different key stakeholders within the hospitality and travel and tour industry. So it's always homecoming for me when I'm here, right? So as we start today, I would just like to do a mood check, right? How is everyone feeling this morning? I hope the weather is been kind to all of you in India because it's kind of warm here. How's everyone doing? Just put into the chat box. How are you feeling emotionally today? All right. So some of you are feeling pleasant, excited, fantastic, very good, excellent, wonderful. Good, good, good. Keep it going, keep it going. Just practice your finger exercise a little bit before we get started. Great, great. I love it, love it. Okay, what else? What else can I say? Oh, wow, many people of you are feeling great, very pleasant. Wow, Runip, you must be doing an excellent job. All your members are really in a high spirit, very pleasant, huh? So fantastic. Okay, torrential rain. Hope that gets a little bit better. And it will not affect you too much in terms of your mood per bit. But great. So let's continue to go, right? So how my interaction with Pata. So in Malaysia, we have a Pata Malaysia chapter. And I've served on the exco of the Pata Malaysia chapter. And 2 years ago, I was in India. So maybe I may have met some of you. Maybe I have not, but do connect with me. So this was the time, October in Delhi. How many of you were there? Just put up your hand or show a sign that you were there. Press a 1. Press number 1 if you were in Delhi. I'm sure Sanjay is everywhere, right? Sanjay is his hand is going to be up the whole time during the call. Yeah, Sanjay is such a incredible person. How supportive it is, right? So it was great being in Delhi. And then last year I supported also in Macau. So if some of you were in Macau, that was the summit, the annual summit. And then the Pata Travel Mart was in Bangkok. So I also spoke in the Youth Symposium, supported in the Knowledge Forum, in terms of just being part of the industry. And obviously we have the Pata chapter meeting. You should be able to see Runip somewhere in that picture too. Runip, you see yourself? I'm just trying to see. Were you there last year? I'm sure you were there, right? Or did I
See,
miss you? Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So again, we'll be having the Pata chapter meet up again very soon next month. That is happening in Bangkok again, right? And of course, most recently in April, that is like 3 months ago, we had the Pata Annual Summit that was in Istanbul, where I was the MC, also supporting the conference over the last 3 months ago. So great. So that's my involvement with Pata. And now as a conference speaker, right? As a conference speaker, I've worked with different organizations over the last 18 years. And what I've discovered is this, right? Many people are saying, John, wow, we are operating in a very VUCA world. We're operating in a VUCA world. And I said, why? Why do you say that we're in a VUCA world? Yeah, because, things are a little bit uncertain. It's a little bit volatile economy sometimes. It's kind of complex with all these things with AI and, how people are using AI and how people are not using AI. And things are a little bit ambiguity, right? So this is how the word VUCA came about, right? Volatile, uncertain, complex, and also a lot of ambiguity. So I'm not sure if any one of you are also in that similar situation, or everything is all good for you. It's like life is good, business is good, we are thriving. Are there challenges that you experience as leaders? So put it onto the chat box, right? Put it onto the chat box. What are some things that you may be experiencing, or you feel that, wow, John, you're right. It is sometimes a pretty VUCA world. And managing teams, the retaining of talents in your companies. Yeah, just share with me a couple of things. What are some of the uh, potential challenges that you experience as leaders, as owners within your organization? Could you put it onto the chat box? I'm just curious, what is the climate like in terms of your organization climate? As leaders, what kind of challenges do you feel? Now, you're welcome to unmute yourself if you like to. Okay, competitive market, we has been very challenging after the pandemic. Thank you for your honesty, appreciate that. Um, and what about yourself as leaders, right? How is it? How do you experience? How do you feel? Is it positive for the next 5 months of the year, the next 12 months of the year? Mr. Donald Trump, okay, that's a big elephant in the room. Okay. Anything else? Anything else that is what about you as leaders? Is managing teams, managing staffing, is it good? Okay, so I've got a new definition of VUCA. VUCA I for room and motivation for innovation. Okay, fantastic. Okay, good. Business going good, not really expected, but always on the incline side. Skill, manpower, thought years. Okay, managing and motivating team. All right. So in terms of going through running and leading a team, sometimes it can be a roller coaster ride, isn't it? Sometimes you'll be having the high, and sometimes it could be challenging, and suddenly you have a dip, and then it goes up again and goes down again, right? But as leaders, and I'm sure many of you would have gone through, challenges does not last, right? Opportunity will always be there if you allowed it to be, right? So let's take a look at how we can transform knowing that VUCA is going to be there, but what can you learn, okay? So I'm going to ask you to participate right now into a mentee. So what do you think are some of the qualities needed by leaders to be successful in leading teams? Okay, so what do you think are the competency that is needed or qualities that is needed by you yourself as leaders to be successful in leading teams? Okay, so please scan the QR code. Okay, let me see. Okay, here's the QR code. All right, and Fanny is going to put it onto the chat box too, the link for the mentee, so that it's easy for you to also participate. So you can scan the QR code, which is easy, and you can also, once you're there, we will open it up. You can see on the chat box, the link is there. So you can click onto the link and just type in your responses, right? So I'm going to go up here and let's see how many of you have signed up so far. Okay, we have got about 15 have logged in. So keep it going, right? What are some of the qualities? Let's see collectively, as a group, right? As a PATA team member within your organization, what do you think are the successful criteria or qualities that is important? Okay, so I'm not going to show you the answer yet. I'll wait for a couple of more people and let's see whether there are some common themes that you can learn from each other also. Okay, so we have close to about 38 people, excluding me and my team member. So which is great, which is great. So let's see. So about three of you, a couple of you have responded already. So let's see. Give a couple of minutes. A couple of minutes. Okay, very good, very good. Keep it going, keep it going. So 7 of you have responded so far out of the 20 that have logged in. Yeah, just one word, right? Just one word. Let's see what is the one word. So once we hit about 15, I'm going to kind of like open up so that we'll see. And I hope you remember what you have also put in, what you have also put in, so that you can see, hey, did I get it correct? Did I get it accurate, right? Was what I guess what everyone is also saying. That is so important, okay? That is so important, all right? So let's give it a couple of minutes more. Let's give it a couple of minutes more. Okay, we have about 12 now. So let's try to get as many of you to participate. All right, so maybe Fanny, you can open up as the rest are still trying to put it in, and let's see, what do we see? Is okay, wow. So the biggest keyword so far is empathy. Okay, empathy came out quite big. Problem solver, owning up to mistakes, accountability, experience to face the odd. Any surprises? Any surprises to all of you? That empathy came out the biggest. Skills of the vocabulary, that's incredible. Oh, that's interesting. Great speaker. Wow. Okay, that's a very good. So when you're a great speaker, you're able to communicate effectively, I guess, right? In leading your teams, having great integrity, leading from the front, visionary thinking, pleasant going, experience to face all, walk the talk. I like that. Okay, very good, interesting. Okay, so later on, I will also share this chart with Runip, so that he can also share this survey, right? That you have all participated. And I'd like you to think about this thing, because empathy is really such an important word, right? Empathy is such an important word. So for the many of you have contributed, thank you so much for adding on to it. The rest you're welcome to just continue to put it in, just to see where it is, where it goes to. Okay, very good. So for our time today, I would like to share with you this acronym. Okay, and this acronym is called GRIT. What is it called? GRIT. GRIT, right? GRIT. And there are 4 elements that I'd like to share with you today, right? So let's explore the first alphabet, which is called G. So in reimagining leadership, right? So one of the first thing that I'd like you to consider is this thing that is called a growth mindset. A growth mindset. So I'm just curious, when we talk about a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, what is your understanding when it comes to this word called a growth mindset? How does a leader behave with a growth mindset? You're welcome to unmute yourself, or you can put it onto the chat, right? So let's continue to participate this spirit of co-creating some learnings together for your time today. So what is a growth mindset when it comes to you? Okay, you're welcome to put it.
Good morning. This is Preeti.
Hi, Preeti. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. I thought you said we could share, so that's why I unmuted myself.
Yes, please do, please do. Yeah.
So first of all, thank you so much. This is going so well. I'm so happy the way you're conducting it. It's really nice.
Awesome,
And
awesome.
while we do know a lot of these things, it's just that it goes into the back of our minds and we kind of never bring it out. So this is like a nice refresher course as well.
Nice.
And the picture that I see in front of me, the growth mindset and the fixed mindset,
Mm,
I think it's very, very important to have a growth mindset, because if you don't have it, it simply means you're not a leader. You're not open to other people giving you suggestions and recommendations, and you just want to do what you want to do, and you're just not, your mind is just not open
thank
for
you.
challenges. Your mind is not open for growth and for productivity improvement, everything basically. I
Okay,
think yeah.
excellent. Good call out. Good call out. Thank you, Preeti. And Preeti, where are you
So,
from?
I am from the select group.
Select
We are
group.
into hospitality and retail.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for jumping in, for just
So
sharing.
I think, Jonathan, I think for a growth mindset, you have to be a good listener.
Good listener. Okay.
Yes, you have to be a good listener. You have to listen to your team. You have to listen to your customer. And once you can understand what the customer wants, then you can and listen to how the team feels that they can solve the problem, solve the challenge. Um, you can find a way forward.
Okay, all right. And that came up quite a bit too, right? In terms of the qualities that we kind of like saw on the Menti. So thank you, Rune, for that. So I'm just going to take a look at the chat box. Some of you have mentioned a growth mindset. The qualities would be like forward looking, looking at the bigger picture, growth mindset. I see challenges as opportunities to grow. Yeah, I love that, right? You know, when you see challenges, are you running away from it or are you embracing it, right? So that's the key thing. I love that. Let me see what else. Continuous innovation within the team. Fixed mindset is really about status quo. Can think about growth as the guts or, you know, for resilience, initiative T. Wow, okay. Well, someone came up with a GRIT already, probably very good. Having positive attitude, welcoming constructive criticism. Okay, fantastic. I love all the chat, okay? So I'm going to show you what growth mindset is, okay? And this growth mindset, there's these 5 pillars, right? There's these 5 pillars. And growth mindset was popularized by a person that is called Carol, right? So Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck is a Stanford professor, and she popularized these elements called the growth mindset. And if you see the growth mindset, there are things like really about when you see a challenge, do you run away or do you embrace it? Do you persist when there is obstacle, right? Do you continue? How is your learning journey, right? How are you putting efforts into mastering things? Do you wait for things to happen or do you take ownership in making it happen, right? Do you learn from feedback from other people? Are you inspired by other people's success, right? So you can see the contrast of a fixed mindset is really, I would rather avoid, I would give up easily. These are things that doesn't resonate with me. You will see efforts as fruitless. So again, I would think that as very progressive leaders, most of you would like to have a growth mindset. So the key thing is, as you're thinking about it, right? Even as we're discussing it, as you look at these 5 elements, I would like you to give yourself a rating right now, okay? And I want you to be very fair to yourself. I know many of you will say, hey, John, I would love to have a growth mindset, but I'd like you to individually rate yourself 1 to 10. How are you doing in each one of them? Okay? Now, nobody's going to see it. You don't have to share it, but I'd like you to rate it. Okay? So for embracing challenge, are you someone that embraces challenge, right? So if you rank yourself as 10, meaning that, wow, every time a challenge comes, you will receive it with open arms. Or are you sometimes, you know, John, yeah, I'm okay with challenges, but sometimes I don't welcome it too much. You know, maybe a 5 for me, right? So wherever you are, I'd like you to give yourself a rating. Be very fair to yourself. This is not an exam, but it's really for you to do a checklist, right? Out of these 5 areas, how would you rate yourself? Okay. You don't need to put it onto the score too, the chat, right? It's only for your area. And I don't want you to give a score for all 5. I'd like you to individually, like say for embrace challenge, 1 to 10, where do you see? Number 2, persist despite obstacles. 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself? Okay, all good. Thank you for your participation. I see some 10s here. Wow, okay, all right. So maybe for you who had a 10, how can you be 11 or 12? All right, fantastic. So because we're going to come back to this later on, right? So I'd like you to rate this for yourself, right? So take a picture, take a piece of paper, do some notes, and just kind of like reflect upon this. So what I like to do is to go into these 5 elements today, right, of having a growth mindset. So the first one is about embracing challenges. Now, the World Economical Forum, right? The World Economical Forum, they have their yearly meetings in Davos in Switzerland, typically beginning of the year in January, right? And the world leaders, they will gather together And these are some of the top skills that is needed for the future of work. They came together and they say, in the next 5 to 6 years, these are some of the future of skills that is needed. So if you can indulge me, what do you think are the skills that would be useful for you and your team to have? Okay, so go ahead and put it onto the chat box. What are some of the things that you feel are important as skills? What do you think would be important? What are you seeing? What are you observing? And again, this is a very interactive session. I love your participation because you are going to be the leader that's going to make it happen, right? So are you recognizing certain patterns? Okay. AI skills, AI again. Anything else? Anything else? Remain relevant. Okay, yeah, remain relevant, right? Positive attitude, be the part of change, and new skills, a market update. Okay, innovative. I think Pratim must be the one that's always talking about innovation and innovative because I see that word coming up quite a bit. Learning to handle Gen Z. Oh, aren't they wonderful? Guess what? We were once also in that arena, right? So again, we have gone through it, but of course, different things is happening. Skills to navigate the disciplinary scope of work and system, networking. Okay, so good. Keep those going because I am going to show you the list right now. Okay, and let's see whether there's any surprises. So based on what came out, these are the top 10, right? These are the top 10. And later we can share the whole link to the WE Forum, which is the World Economical Forum, right? And at the publication, they were close to, I think, more than 50 skill set that is needed, but I just extracted the top 10. Any surprises? Right, so analytical, creative thinking, resilient, flexibility, agility, motivation, self-awareness, curiosity, lifelong learning, technology. And again, as leaders, are we embracing it, right? Are we aware that these are the skill set that you and your team would need to also have to lead into the future, right? So these are the top 10. And empathy, you're right, because you mentioned that empathy is one of the quality, and within the top 10, empathy is there. And you heard it, right? And Rune mentioned about active listening. And there you go, right? So it is within the top 10 of crucial skills that is needed. And if you look at the top 10, very interestingly, 6 out of the top 10 are people-related skills. Interesting, right? You talk so much about AI, but then the top 10, 60% of it is still very much people-related, right? So very relevant for human skills, social skills, which is crucial. Now, as you look into it, in the work that I've been doing over the last 18 years, right, centered around emotional intelligence. So even the Harvard Business Review, a very prestigious publication on leadership, and they've done many cases, many thought, many research on this area, and they found that they've even dedicated one of their issue to this area called emotional intelligence. And they say this, right? And they say this, EI or EQ is a tool if you use it with finesse, if you use it well, if you use it often, it is the key to your professional success. Now, how many of you agree with this statement? Okay, just put up a hand, or just put up your hand, or use the thing, the hand up button, right? Just raise up your hand. Absolutely agree. Okay, awesome, right? Now, if you agree, I would like to add one more thoughts behind it. In my work over the last 18 years, I have found that not only has it been helping people professionally, but it also been helping people personally. So many people have come up to me and say, hey, John, this area of EQ is really good, but you know what? It's also helped me personally. I'm getting better relationship with my family. I'm now able to have better conversation with my partner, with my children, with my spouse, with my husband, with my wife, right? And the reward is really, really good, right? So not only professionally, but I would like to add the word personal success, okay? So if you are familiar with EQ, that's great, but if it's something new to you, maybe this is something that you want to expand a little bit more thoughts onto it. Now, in terms of with 6 seconds, 6 seconds, they have an EQ model, and there are 8 competencies that is needed for you to be successful. Obviously, we won't have time to dive into each one of them, but 2 elements that I like to support your development is this area, right? The first one is called recognize pattern, right? So for your own trigger, it's important. When patterns is usually about habits, isn't it? It's about habits. What kind of habits do you have? What kind of habits? What kind of unconscious thing do you do, right? So when people do not come on time for work, or when things upset you, what are your trigger points? So be aware of those patterns, because when you become aware of those patterns, then you're able to at least navigate those emotions, right? So if you were to just recognize these 2 parts, so it's called the KCG model: know yourself, choose yourself, and give yourself. So the know yourself part is really about your ability to understand yourself, your own patterns, your own emotions. And the choose yourself is really when you interact with other people, how do you manage those kind of relationship, those kind of emotions? And one of the biggest one is your ability to navigate. When things happen, how do you navigate? And the third one is of course, is your ability to increase empathy, your ability to listen well, to put yourself in other people's shoe. All right. So, and the research have also shown, right? People with higher EQ, especially when it comes to sales or service experience, customer loyalty, even leadership success, they found out that when you develop greater relationship, you begin to attract more accounts, you begin to have higher sales. Your service experience will lead to more businesses coming back to you, right? And some of you may have known, right? The way you build those relationships is all about EQ. It's about your ability to establish things that keeps keeps coming back, right? So continue to do more of that, because essentially it is your ability to blend. So EQ is really your ability to blend your thinking and feeling. So it's not just what I know, that's the IQ part. But whatever is here, how you feel. When you blend the 2 together, your thinking and your feeling, that's when you're able to make a better decision. Not the right decision, it could be the right one, but you don't wait for the perfect right decision. You make a wise, a better decision. Because as leaders, sometimes we are at stake to make decisions all the time. But as long as you can make a better decision at that point in time, that will be a good start. Okay? How are we doing so far? All good? Are you all learning? If you're learning, can you put a number 2 onto the chat box? Let me know if you're learning well and you're learning from the session, right? So let me know if you're learning well. Okay, I see a 2 here. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, very good. Keep it up going. That will encourage me to keep going. Awesome. Give yourself a big hand too, right? I love your participation. And if you can, virtually give yourself a partner and your colleagues also a big virtual snap too. Okay, fantastic. So let's go into this challenge, right? So as leaders, I would like you to think about this. How can you embrace challenges? Because having a growth mindset is about embracing challenges. So how can you do that much better? All right. So let's go into number 2, resilience. Okay, resilience. Some of you mentioned about resilience and the importance of that. So let's take a look. So in resilience, it's all about being persistent despite obstacles, right? How can you be persistent when obstacles are there? So for that, I would like to share with you this story about Stephen Curry. I'm not sure how many of you love basketball, but Stephen Curry is with the Golden State Warriors. And for a basketball player, he's not the tallest among all players. He's actually kind of short compared to others. But 6'3", compared to NBA standards, is really short. But he has gone through so many things in his life. And I'd like to share a quick video with you to show you what Steph goes through. Okay, so let's take a look.
All right, Steph, ready? Stephen Curry. Do not rely on him to run your team.
He was about 5'6".
Looks like a little kid.
150 pounds, soaking wet. That was when I first really understood I'm different. How did I get here? I was the undersized, scrawny kid that was just trying to figure out how to make it.
Steph Curry is hurt.
I was overwhelmed by everything. How would I respond?
Cannot see the video.
When you are an underdog, you have to take what is yours.
Sorry? Are you able to see? Are you able to see the video? Yeah, okay, so let me continue.
College to the Sweet 16.
It's not about proving other people wrong. It's about proving himself right.
And that feeling of being underrated, always being part of the drive that keeps me going.
Stephen Curry, underrated, only on Apple TV Plus.
All right, if you have access to Apple TV, you can actually watch this. It's really a good documentary, right, about the life of Steph Curry. And one thing unique is about this, right? So Stephen Curry, although he is at that level, you know, he is a 3 times NBA champion. And a couple of years ago, right, just 3 years ago, he again became an NBA champion, even with his height. And, you know, his record, his milestone is really impressive, right? 4-time NBA when he won that 3 years ago. Before that, it was 3 years. And within the last 8 years, right? And he is the number 1 3-pointer shooter, right? Look at the distance between number 1 and number 2. So he never let obstacle define who he is. Because sometimes we can think, hey, we are pretty small, right? We can't compete with the big giants. But, you know, he persists despite some of the obstacles, right? So again, learn what are the characteristics, the quality that Stephen Curry has that is going to help you. And for those of you that watched the Olympics, it was magical, right? In the finals that he played against France, he was a mastery. He didn't do very well in the earlier rounds, but when the time was there for him to show up, he did extremely well. And here's the quote that I came up with, right? So resilience is not just about bouncing back, but it is about rising higher each time you do, right? Sometimes people think, oh, you know, we just fall, we bounce back up, right? But resilience is about rising higher. So ask yourself, when there's an obstacle, how can you rise higher, right? Higher than what you do, okay? So just to share with you, besides the one that is done by the World Economic Forum, in Forbes magazine, this year alone, they highlighted 19 new skills that is needed, right? So you can take a screenshot of it, of these 19 skills, because it's very important for you as leaders. And the big one that came out is really about adaptability, right? And with AI, with all these changes, with the VUCA world, adaptability is becoming more and more important, right? It's becoming more and more important. So in line with that, it's very interesting because we have also come out recently with a research that is helping organization define what is adaptability. So in AQAI, we now look at adaptability over 3 dimensions, right? We look at your ability to manage, your character, and your environment. And within that, there are 5 measures. So when we look at ability, we look at what is your grit. How flexible are you? What is your mindset, your resilience? How are you able to unlearn? Because sometimes as leaders, we think we know everything. Agree? How many of you think you're quite a good learner? Or are you sometimes very difficult to change? You know, we're quite fixated in the way that we do things. You know, we say that we have a growth mindset, right? So this tool is really useful, and we'll be helping organization, right? So they go through the assessment, and we help them to understand a little bit better what all these elements are. Okay, so my question to you is this now. Okay, my question to you, right? So out of the 15, I would like you to choose one from each category. Which one do you think is most important for your own personal development? All right, if you can do that with me, let's see where we go with this. Choose one of the measures. So again, out of each category has got 3. You just choose one. So you got 3 options, just choose one. So we're going to go back to Mentee again. Funny, if you can put onto the Mentee, that'd be great. Okay, I can see the link. Is the link there, right? Is there already? Yep. So let's take a look at, before we review the answer, choose your pick, right? So out of the three, which one would you choose that is the most important for you to develop in each of the category? Each category has got three. Which one would you say is important for you? Okay, how are we doing? How are we doing? Okay, so make your choices. Make your choices. Please select very quickly. All right, so three of you have responded. We have about 24 people who have logged in. So just choose your pick, right? So is it going to be work stress, you want to manage that a little bit better, or team support, you like to improve on supporting your team much better? Is it on the emotional health, right? Or is it your ability to unlearn? You know, you're open, you're having the courage to unlearn. Is that important to you? Or your thinking style, you know, the way of, I want to have more better company support. Okay, so let's take a look what those answers would be. All right, in each of the three categories, right? In each of the three categories. Okay, Funny, you want to just open up and just show them as of now while the rest are still putting in. So we have about 8% that responded. Okay, so let's take a look. All right, so far, well, people want to become better in resilience. Okay, so that's the first category. Okay, so for a while, there's a tie up there. In the second one, we have 6 to 10. 3. Wow, emotional range. Yeah, emotional range. Manage your emotional EQ a little bit better. Okay, that's important. 11 to 10. Emotional health. Okay, right. So that's the important part, right? So it's very interesting. And all this actually relates back to resilience. Yeah, many of these things relate to resilience. So when we go to organization, we will do an assessment with them. They will participate in the assessment, and we kind of like know where they are. And interestingly enough, the third part, the environment, because sometimes you can be very positive, but maybe the environment, the work environment does not support you to do that. And this is where we have many other questions to help organization even create a better work environment, psychologically safety environment, because many people say that is important. All right. So interesting results. Thank you so much for those that have participated. Later, you can continue to do that, and we'll share that with you much later. All right. So I hope that you're finding value in terms of what are the things that you need to develop. And here is my question to you, right? Here will be my question to you. So out of those 15, what are some of the things that you like to do, right? When things are difficult, what would you like to continue doing? All right, there are a lot of resources out in the marketplace, but one thing that I'd like to encourage you is just continue to practice, right? When you see it, don't run away, face those challenges, because that will help you. Every time you have a trigger, emotionally trigger, work on those trigger, because the more you avoid, run away, the more it's going to come back to you. So if there's one recommendation I can have for you, is really face those head on, ask yourself, pull yourself back, take a deep breath. What can I do things differently? What can I do things differently? All right. So that's the second area. Now, the third one that I would like to share with you is this thing that is called influence, right? Influence as part of grit, right? So we've gone through the growth mindset, resilient, and now we want to talk about influence. Now, when we talk about influence, it's really about your efforts to mastery. What are the things? And by showing up today, give yourself a big hand, right? By showing up today, you're already committed to learning. That is really important. Now, for everything, I'm sure Rune is keeping track, right? When he takes time, when he invites speakers, when he does all these webinars to help members provide value, are you showing up? Are you or your team showing up? Because that's a commitment to learning. So if you're here, I applaud you. All right, I applaud you. So even for my journey, I mentioned earlier I was from the hospitality, I was from the tourism faculty before. After I've navigated, I established a company that is called Global Success Learning. And this is where, I now help organization improve their sales, service, and leadership. So my learning continued to evolve, right? So I've continued to learn many different elements to enhance my sales effectiveness, helping teams to become better in service and also in the leadership potential through conference speaking, through workshops, and also through leadership coaching. So that's on my part, right? And over the last 18 years, here are just some of the brands that I've worked with, that I supported. So all these brands just continue to encourage me to become better, right? To continue to learn. And here are more of the hospitality related brands that is done. So as mentioned, these are some of the topics that I work on to support organization, right? In the different conferences that I speak in. And these are the 3 tracks that I work on, right? So look at your offering, look at your solution. What are the things that you're doing well for yourself in terms of company? But more importantly, as leaders, sometimes we forget to retrain ourselves, right? To reinvent ourselves. So again, making sure that your team members have the allocated time. When I was in Marriott, every manager needs to complete at least 40 hours of training development. So is that in place for you and your team? And if not, even for yourself, are you learning at least 40 minutes? I mean, 40 hours, not 40 minutes, 40 hours, right? That is at least 5 days, 5 days of development, okay? And through the learning, this was my client before, and now I'm the strategic partner for Asia. Many of them were from HSBC. I was speaking at the conference, and this was one of the elements that was really, really good so far, okay? So I hope this is useful for you because it is so important, right? Ask yourself, what are you doing to develop further? Okay, now I know time is running short, so it's just moving so quickly, right? So the fourth element I wanted to share with you is this thing that is called trust, okay? That is called trust, okay? So trust, how many of you think trust is important in leading your teams? Do you agree that trust is important? Yeah, very important, right? So it's one of the crucial elements, one of the crucial elements. So in terms of trust, I'm sure there are going to be many different qualities that is important. Could you put maybe on the chat box, what are some qualities that is important that you feel is crucial for trust? The qualities of people that you have high trust with. Could you just put it onto the chat box? Just type it in. If there's one quality that you think is very important, what would be that kind of quality? Okay, commitment, yeah, good. Honesty, thank you. Transparency, faithful, I love that. Okay, anything else? Emotional transparency. Thank you. Anything else? Obedience. That's very interesting. We need to have more conversation on obedience. Yeah, I like that. Okay, honesty, commitment, communication, truthful, binding together. Excellent. Thanks for your input. So right now I'm going to share with you the 4 C's of trust, right? The 4 C's of trust. So the first C is about competence, right? It's about your ability and your willingness to do the task. Right, and think of the people that you have high trust with, right? And most of the time, they are the people that you have really, really high trust, are the people that you trust a lot. So check on your ability, check on your willingness, right? On how you're doing it. The second C is about commitment. And I'm glad commitment came out because commitment came out quite a bit. So do you really do what you say you would do, right? Are you all about, because sometimes what you do is more important than what you say. Agree? Yeah, because people listen to what you say, but they observe you doing it more, even more important. Okay, so commitment is important. The next C is about consistency, right? How consistent are you? Do you do it one time or do you do it a few times or, not many times, right? And the final one is about caring, right? How much care do you do with the people, right? So how much care do you share with them? So look at this 4C and ask yourself, am I really doing it? Am I practicing it? are there some of the things that I need to do a little bit more of, right? And when it comes to trust, I would like to share with you these three important questions that every leader needs to have, right? That every leader needs to have. And these are the three questions, okay? These are the three questions. So make sure you take a picture of this, right? Remember to take a picture of this. What should I start to do or do more of? What should I stop doing or do less of? And what should I continue doing? So if you're a leader, if you're even brave enough, have this conversation with your team, right? And you'll be amazed at how much you can learn in building trust. When you start even using these three questions daily, reflecting yourself, asking yourself, and then having conversation with your team, trust me, I guarantee your results will be different in 30, 60, 90 days. All right? How many of you will be committed to ask these three questions? If you're committed, can you put the number 3 onto the chat box? So let me see some trees, right? So let me see some trees. Thank you. Thank you. I love it, right? So important, so fundamental, but it is common knowledge, but not common practice, not common practice, right? If you can do it, you're on the trail to success, right? So fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, let's continue to do all three questions. So as you're inspired by other people's success, right, and the trust, ask yourself, what are the 5 things that you can do to even, show appreciation, right? Because sometimes, when it comes to trust, you sometimes may be a little bit envious. But right now, I'd like you to think about it a little bit different. Ask yourself, what are 5 things that your colleagues are currently doing that you're most proud of? And have you communicated this with them? Have you said, thank you, that was fantastic, I love what you're doing, I appreciate what you're doing, right? So show some love, because remember, the 4th C of trust, caring, compassion, all right? Wow, fantastic, this is going so great, okay? So remember, you did this exercise in the beginning of the session. So I'd like you to think about it, right? In 30, 60, 90 days time, or even 9 to 12 months time, right? What score would you like to see for yourself? Again, personal assessment. You don't need to share with everyone else, but just do it for yourself, okay? So remember this part called VUCA, right? We had a VUCA earlier. Who can still remember what was VUCA? What was VUCA? We spoke about VUCA earlier in the beginning of the session. So we spoke about it being volatile, uncertain. We spoke about it being, a lot of confusion, ambiguity, right? Complexity. So, my friends, I'd like to share with you a new VUCA, all right? A VUCA that is filled with vision, filled with understanding, filled with clarity and agility. And you can see all those elements that is so important that the world needs. If you can have this new VUCA in your world and you incorporate that into the grid, a growth mindset with greed, right? As a summary, these are the things that is going to be so useful for you and your teams, right? And because of these things that I've been practicing, I've been so blessed to have traveled to more than 40 different countries over the last 18 years, helping so many professionals, going to countries like Bhutan, working with the government, with leaders, and still having great tourism experience, right? That's what we're all talking about, experiencing the tiger nest in Bhutan, being in Istanbul, going to Macedonia, right, in the Skopje, in doing work in Maldives, and most recently, I just returned from Penang, speaking in a conference in Penang in Malaysia. So with that, I would like to thank Runip for giving the opportunity for me to share, and thank all of you for your participation, for being part of this experience. I trust that it has helped you. So how many of you found that this session, this 1 hour session has been really useful for you? If you have found it useful, can you press a number 1, right? A number 1, then I will know that, it's very quick, just a number 1. Thank you, right? So, wow, okay, fantastic, I love it. And I hope to meet you in one of the PATA events, if not in India or somewhere else in the world that we're having the PATA events. But thank you so much. Stay connected with me on LinkedIn. That is my QR code again, and Fanny will put it onto the chat box one more time. But you have been all great, right? So thank you so much. Runip, I will pass the time back to you to do a final closing.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. And I think, leadership, as I listen to your presentation, is about old wine in a new bottle every time you talk about it. There is, it's so different perspectives, uh, different ideas, different thoughts, which emerge. Different ways to present the same problem is coming up, and I
Absolutely.
think adaptation to some of this stuff is all about leadership. We also have to think where in our workplace how to present the same issue in a more doable fashion than in a fashion which says, "Oh my God, here's another one." Uh, and you can take the routine out of everything that you do to make it interesting for your team members, for yourself, for the result that you want to achieve from time to time. Jonathan, I have to thank you for being. I thought it was great personally. I think we spent about 50 minutes or so
Yeah.
hearing you. I'm sure some people have some Q&As. If you have Q&As, this is your time. I think I can buy 10, 15 minutes from Jonathan before he has to go away. So feel free to put it on the chat so that Jonathan can respond to you. Jonathan has shared his LinkedIn with you. I'm sure some of you would want to engage with him beyond today and make the most of his expertise for your teams. If you have large organizations, for yourself, if you're an independent contributor in your organization, I'm sure that we will have the expertise that Jonathan brings available to all of you. I think there are some questions already coming up, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Where do you draw a line for empathy?
Yeah, great question. Is it Pretty, right? So Pretty, I think there's a very good book called Compassionate Leadership, right? And in Compassionate Leadership, there is this very distinct thing called empathy. So there's a great need for empathy, but there's also a very important need for the business, right? So if we overstress the empathy part, then we lose focus on the business needs, right? Which is also cruel. So the key thing is that empathy will have to be balanced out with the need for the business. If you're too much on the business side, just results, then you're kind of like task oriented. But if you are able to manage that mix, right? Because what I found is that the more we are able to listen, the more we're able to practice empathy, you will naturally see more of the results coming out from your team members, right? And again, it has to come to a point that your clarity in your message, and that's the reason why the new VOCA is about clarity. The C is about clarity. And one of the things that a lot of leaders needs to have or is lacking, sometimes they are not very clear in whatever the expectations are. So that gives some uncertainty to team members as they're leading it. So the more clear you are, and if you have communicated, it's good to also have a callback, right? Ask people to rephrase it, to recap it, so that everyone has the same understanding. Otherwise, there's still going to be the confusion. So I hope that has helped you, Pretty. Okay, all right, good. So I see that's good. Any new things that is coming up?
All right.
Okay.
So the next question is from being from the hospitality background, how did you enjoy partner relationships with DMCs?
Okay. That is always fun. You know, for me, it's always about one keyword, right? So partnership is always about co-creating, and finding out, you know, how we can both add value, right? So always look at, you know, negotiation, right? It's not always about me win, you lose, but you know, in the world of collaboration, it's always what are the things you have your needs, I have my needs. Can we sit down together and let's see how we can work towards so that it's going to be a bigger pie for everyone? You know, even in the speaker's world, now that I've been there for the last 18 years, right? We always believe that the cake is much bigger when we work together. You know, the cake is much bigger because sometimes there are certain things that you can do. There's certain things that the client will require that I can't do, or maybe other people can do. So we can always recommend other people, right? So even though we're kind of like sometimes competing for some similar business, but perhaps when we collaborate, we can build the cake much bigger. So I hope that makes sense. But if not, I'll be having to have a separate conversation to dive into that a little bit more. But great question.
So let me add to that, Jonathan. I think the issue is when we work partner with hotels or we are servicing a customer independently, the key question is, what does the customer want? How can you fulfill that need? How can you build satisfaction? How can you go above and beyond expectation? And if you can partner properly with your hospitality partner, your transport partner, your aviation partner, and see how you can deliver value. Of course, I think as two partners, we're always looking to see how we can benefit in this scenario as well. But don't limit that benefit to monetary benefit. Take that beyond and look at how you can benefit by anchoring the customer for the longer term. That I think is a win-win for both the DMC and the partner that he or she is working with. Doesn't come easy.
And
I think
yeah,
we have
eventually the guest, right? So there's actually three reasons, right? Because eventually when the guest comes, they will be the biggest takeaway because they can see it's like great collaboration.
Right. So look at ways and means how you can anchor the customer for the longer term together. Maybe each one of you independently can't do it. You will not win it, but together you can win. And that's the more important piece. The next question is, how do we reframe our new challenges nowadays in the world conflict of 2025?
How do we?
How do we reframe our new challenges nowadays in the world conflict of 2025?
Okay. Well, I guess, I mean, from my years of, working and being around, right? The world conflict is always going to be there. But the key important thing is do whatever you can within your means, right? So that starts with yourself, right? So if you can influence your circle of people within your group, within your city, within your town, do whatever you can, right? Rather than waiting for things to happen, you be the change that inspires the world. You be the change that can create the kind of positivity and outcomes that you're looking for, right? I always have this very favorite equation of mine, right? It's a formula. It's called E plus R equals to O, right? E plus R equals to O. So maybe Fanny can put it onto the chat box too, right? So E plus R equals to O. And E talks about events, right? Events that you sometimes have control. Sometimes you have no control over it, right? But R is the way you respond that can determine your outcome. Because you can always react to situation out of those events that can determine your outcomes. But if you choose a positive response, right? Just learn from grit, right? If you have a growth mindset, resilience, influence, trust, if you just work on those, your outcome could be very different, right? World conflict is going to be there, but hey, we still have to live in a world, right? Despite all these things that we have control and some we don't have control. So that is my take on this, and hopefully it helps you. So practice E plus R equals to O. What kind of responses do you want to have?
Great. So Jonathan, with that, I think we don't have any more questions, and I'm going to ask our secretary, Sanjeet, and also the PATA executive board member, Sanjeet, to propose a vote of thanks. Before Sanjeet does that, I think I'm going to pick on any one of the people who have participated in this session to share their thoughts around it. So maybe we can ask Dimple Singh from Creative Travels
I think
to
Sanjay
share
wants to share. I think Sanjay.
what his thoughts
Runip,
were about
can I
this.
ask a question before that? Runip, can I ask a question before that?
Oh, of course.
Okay, that's
Yes,
what
please
Jonathan.
go right ahead.
Jonathan, we talk about leadership. We talked about a lot of things, but there's one particular thing. You can call it a stupid question, but I think I really want everybody to also understand and hear. Leadership comes in different levels. You're not a leader only at the top level, but I have a team. I'm a leader there. Then I'm a bigger team. So there are different layers of leadership which happens in any organization. So technically speaking, we could all be leaders in our own small domain. Uh, what we really need to I want to understand from you is where does this, what is the difference between the bigger leadership roles and the smaller ones, and especially when it comes to international leadership compared to domestic or your own company leaderships?
I mean, personally, for me, Sanjay, I think leadership starts at home. You know, it starts from the
Correct.
age, right? So that is where it all starts from. If you can be a role model, right, you be the change in whatever it is, right? So sometimes we have leaders with no titles, and they're a leader. They lead project teams. They're successfully. But the key thing is, what do you practice, right? If you can practice the grit, you are a leader, right? You may not have the title called a leader, but you are a leader. You are making a difference, and that to me is much more impactful than some leaders who carry big titles, but the impact is very different, right? The result is very different. So again, E plus I equals to O, right? So again, we can't change the world, but whatever you can do, you can make the difference in your capacity and be the change that you can be. So that's my take, Sanjay.
Fair enough. Thank you. Go ahead, Rooney.
Yeah.
Over to you.
I hope you have a chance for a group photograph, right? And people
Yeah,
will have the cameras open later, I'm sure. So Rooney, back to you.
all right. So, Dimple, are you there?
Yes, we can see him.
If you,
Yes, I'm here.
I can see
Sandeep,
he's
hi.
there, but he's on mute.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hi,
No, no, no.
Dimple.
All right. So, Dimple, your thoughts on today's leadership program?
That's fantastic. Thank you, Jonathan. No, I personally believe leadership is not about the title. Leadership is all about having a thought, having a courage to take a decision. Irrespective of what your designation is, if you don't take the decisions, you will never be a leader. So
Absolutely.
in order to be a good leader, you should be able to take any decision at any time.
And blend it, EQ, right? Head and the heart.
Absolutely.
There you go. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Correct. Thank you. Sanjeet, over to you before Jonathan uses technology, which I'm not familiar with, to take a group photograph.
Everybody has to switch on the cameras, I guess.
Yeah.
No, Jonathan, thank you very much. Friends, those who have been with PATA, Jonathan is a very well-known figure at PATA. In fact, everywhere, every time you go, and if you don't see him, means you're not in PATA, put it that way. So that's something which is very important. And thank you and he's been actually a master of ceremonies in the last PAS.
Last
I
two
think
events. Yeah.
that was wonderful to see him go through with the whole thing. It was really remarkable, and the learning has been great. At least we got an idea what he does and how this leadership and other things can also become a very important aspect of our lives and about work. I'm not going to say about our lives. I think also for our work, which is very important. So thank you, Jonathan. That's really been wonderful. And we are going to look and we want to trouble you more and more. In fact, now that you made us taste some few things about what you did. So we're going to look at that, and I look forward to seeing you end of the month
In Bangkok.
for Pata. Yeah, that's what we're going to be looking forward to. And thanks a million. And once again, kudos to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend. And a big congratulations to the persistency of Rooney. You know, he has been kind of like very persistent. John, when can we get a date? John, when can we get a date? When can we get a date? And we managed to lock in a date. So well done, Rooney. Thank you for your persistency and not giving up. Appreciate that. All right. So if everyone can on your
Thank you. I
cameras,
guess that's one pillar of leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to invite Fanny to help me take a picture. So if you can have your cameras on, just for this final group photo, I think that'd be good if it is appropriate, right? I see that it's going to be 2 pages, just hold on to your smile, your wonderful picture could be captured from this session. Yeah, if you can you're going to take a minute for you to have your cameras just on. After that, you can go for your lunch. Yeah, it's about lunchtime now, huh?
Yeah.
Is that all? Is that all the cameras is going to be on? Well,
Yeah, a lot of Vikram, Rajiv, why don't you guys put on your camera? I know they're feeling shy or I don't know, whatever it may be.
Dimple, Anu Kumari, Preeti, can we see you all, please?
Yes,
My
yes, yes.
camera is on.
yeah,
This is
Pretty is on. Yeah, Pretty
Mine is
is
on.
on. Yeah.
Pradeep, Dimple,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Preeti
Pretty
is
is
now
in pink.
on.
It's in pink
Poonam
today.
Rajput, Praveen Reddy.
Okay. No worries. We won't force it. Whoever is having, let's take a picture
All
now.
right. Let's
Okay,
go
let's
with
put our
what we
thumbs
have,
up. Yeah.
Jonathan.
1, 2,
One,
3.
two, three. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day
Yeah.
and stay in touch, my friends. Take care.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Cheers, everyone. Be well.
Well, it was lovely speaking to listen
Thank
to you,
you.
Johnson.
All right.
Thank
So
you
let
so
me give you
much.
feedback as
Practice
a
great.
trainer.
Practice great. Cheers.
You,
Bye.
you,
Thanks, Ronit. Stay well. See you in Bangkok.
thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, Poonam, you can close it. Thank you. We'll talk again.
Cheers. Bye-bye.